The rain hammered down in relentless waves, turning the quiet suburban streets into slick black mirrors. Isabella shivered under the flickering streetlight, her breath coming out in short, visible puffs. The fight with Daniel played on a loop in her mind, his voice tight with frustration, hers breaking with exhaustion. "I just need to get out of here," she had snapped before slamming the door behind her. Now, standing alone in the empty night, regret gnawed at her. She pulled out her phone, the screen casting a pale glow on her face, 12:37 a.m. The rideshare app showed a driver 4 minutes away. She hesitated, then tapped confirm. A black sedan rolled up right on time, its wipers struggling against the downpour. The window slid down, revealing a man with thinning brown hair and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Isabella?" She nodded, forcing herself to move. The back seat smelled like pine air freshener and something faintly metallic. She buckled in, her wet clothes sticking to the leather. The driver, Greg, according to the app, adjusted the rearview mirror just enough to keep her in his line of sight. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice smooth. She swallowed. "Don't engage, just get home." But the silence stretched too long. "Yeah, long day," he hummed in response, fingers tapping the wheel. "You know, people don't realize how much you can tell about someone just from their energy. You seem tense." A cold prickle ran down her spine. Weird thing to say. She glanced at her phone, 12% battery. The GPS showed the usual route home, straight down Maple Avenue. But then the car turned left instead. The app says to go straight," she said, her voice tighter than she intended. Greg chuckled. "Construction up ahead, this way's faster." She swallowed, pulse quickening. The streetlights grew fewer, the road narrowing into a tunnel of trees. No construction signs, no detours, just darkness closing in. Then she saw it. Bunched up on the floor behind the passenger seat was a dark coat, half hidden under a fast food bag. The sleeve was streaked with something reddish-brown, dried blood. Her breath hitched. "Don't panic. Don't let him know you saw." She forced her gaze away, but her hands trembled. "You okay back there?" Greg's voice was calm, but his eyes in the mirror were sharp, watching. "Yeah, just tired." She gripped her phone tighter, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. But what would she say? "My driver took a wrong turn." She had no proof, no way to explain the dread coiling in her stomach. The trees outside grew thicker, no houses, no streetlights, just the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers and the too loud sound of her own breathing. Then the car slowed. Greg pulled onto a dirt path, barely visible in the rain. "Quick pit stop," he said lightly. Isabella's heart jackhammered. No. She glanced at her phone, 5%, 1 bar of signal. "I really just want to go home," she said, voice shaking. "Won't take long." His tone was pleasant, but his fingers flexed on the wheel. The car rolled to a stop beside an abandoned shed, its roof sagging under the weight of the storm. Isabella's fingers found the door handle, locked. Greg turned off the engine. The silence was deafening. Then he reached under his seat. She didn't wait to see what he grabbed. With a scream, she slammed her elbow into the window. The glass cracked but held. Greg lunged for her, but she kicked wildly, her heel connecting with his jaw. He snarled, blood blooming at the corner of his mouth. She yanked the door handle again. It clicked open. Rain and wind assaulted her as she bolted into the trees, branches clawing at her arms. Behind her, the car door slammed. "Isabella!" His voice wasn't human anymore. It was a snarl, a predator's cry. She ran blindly, her shoes slipping in the mud. Every shadow seemed to move. Every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. She ducked behind a fallen log, pressing a hand to her mouth to stifle her sobs. Phone, call someone, but the screen flashed 1%. The twig snapped, close, too close. Greg's voice slithered through the darkness. You can't hide forever. She squeezed her eyes shut, tears mixing with the rain. Daniel, please, I'm sorry. Daniel paced the living room, his phone clutched in his hand. The fight replayed in his head. Why had he let her leave like that? He checked his messages again. Nothing. Then he remembered. She had shared her live location with him earlier that day. He pulled up the app, his stomach dropping as the little blue dot moved further and further from the usual route. She wasn't heading home. He zoomed in. The car had turned onto a back road, then stopped near the old Forestry Service path. No one goes there. His blood ran cold. Grabbing his keys and the pistol he kept in the nightstand, a gift from his cop brother he'd never thought he'd need, he sprinted to his car. The tires screeched as he peeled out of the driveway. The app refreshed. She wasn't moving anymore. Isabella's lungs burned. She could hear Greg getting closer, his footsteps methodical, like he was enjoying the hunt. Time stretched, warped. Seconds bled into minutes. She stayed frozen, hidden, as if the darkness itself had swallowed her whole. Then headlights. A car skidded to a stop on the road nearby. A door opened. Isabella! Daniel's voice. She sobbed in relief, stumbling toward the light. But as she broke through the trees, Greg's hand clamped around her wrist. His breath was hot against her ear. You should have stayed in the car. She screamed and the world exploded in gunfire. Greg collapsed, his grip loosening. Daniel stood 10 feet away, his face pale, his hands shaking around the pistol. Isabella crumpled into his arms, her body racked with sobs. How did you... Your location, he breathed, holding her tighter. You never turned it off. Sirens wailed in the distance. The police would come, the questions would come. But for now, the only sound was the rain and the ragged, terrified breaths of the woman who almost didn't make it home. As the red and blue lights flickered through the trees, Isabella buried her face in Daniel's chest, shaking. I thought I was going to die. He kissed the top of her head, his voice raw. Never again. You're never getting in a stranger's car again. If this chilling tale slithered under your skin, don't forget to subscribe and let the darkness in, because the next story waits, coiled in the shadows, ready to strike. Turn on notifications. You wouldn't want to miss the scream. And remember, the next ride you hail might not take you home. Until next time, keep your doors locked, your lights bright, and never trust a stranger's smile. Stay vigilant. The night is always listening.